All right, so self quarantine. Let's talk. Where am I? Right here. All right. Let's talk about self quarantining. What you should do, what you should have, and this is a learning process for everyone. And I want to keep stressing it in these videos. And for those of you who do come across this, I want you guys to take these videos seriously. Uh, for those of you who don't know me and ask, who am I to even speak on the subject? I'm a human being. That's it. That's my qualification. I'm a human being. That's it. That's it. And that's all. Because it can affect anybody, no matter who you think you are. So your qualification is you're a human being, so you can and should speak on this subject to as many people as you feel or as you deem that needs to either have information that you have and that you think you can help. So that's the whole point of the conversation and spreading the conversation, because if you have something that in your arsenal that you can help, that is helping you, you just have the human responsibility to share that with others. Now, I am pretty much a loner. I don't go to work and stuff like that. But nonetheless, I have my own little, hustle I do when I come in contact with people. But I just ended that pretty much today. I closed down my little storage place I had, and because I decided last night that is pretty much it. I don't want to be in contact with too many people. I have to call, or actually have to go down to the gym, and I have to close my gym membership because that costs a couple dollars a month. So I have to close my gym membership, and don't really want to do that because I just opened it. But people go into the gym, you don't know who's been there, and then you go and you use those machines and whatnot, and just because they have a little spray or whatever doesn't mean that it's still not possible for you to contract uh, any virus, flu, cold, anything. And of course, COVID 19, which is the coronavirus. So I am self quarantining myself. I am not sick. I don't have the coronavirus. Uh, I am just being self aware. And the only things I do participate in is pretty much going to the store. When I go into, the stores I go into, I got the little cleaning thing, the little cleaner. I get with that. I used to kind of lightweight ignore it, but, I get with that. I wash my, vegetables and stuff that I, eat. You should always do that anyway. I need to pick up some Purell. I purchase, some, in case I get sniffles, you gotta have these. I usually sneeze in the morning a little bit. But I noticed that the toilet paper is sold out in Kroger's. It's sold completely out in Kroger's. So I'm like, okay, I know that Lowe's has toilet paper. So I go over there and get a roll of, shoot, a roll of eight. Costs about $8 and some change, so it's a buck each roll. I guess that sounds fair. So yeah, I grabbed, 2 packs of those, and it's cool. They have them stacked up, so they have, toilet paper over there. But I think once people catch on that Lowe's actually has toilet paper, they're gonna be sold out too. Because when I say that they're sold out in Kroger's, they're sold out. People are starting to buy up the Scott towels now. So people, their reaction is, and I'm gonna tell you something. People's reaction, for the most part, not the fighting, not the arguing, but people's reaction for the most part is pretty much on point. Protect yourself the best way you can. Keep yourself clean. You're going to be doing a lot more staying in the house. Schools are closing. Harvard is closed. No more entertainment. There's concerts, none of that. That has completely look. America is shutting down, and I don't know how old you guys are. I don't know everybody that looks at my channel, but I'm in my 50s. So let me say this: I've seen America shut down before. I've seen it shut down during 9/11. I've seen it shut down, and most of you probably seen it shut down too. And I knew as soon as 9/11 went off that it was going to be pretty much over. It was going to be a shutdown, and the whole world stopped. This COVID-19 is a lot worse than that, of course, because it's affecting everybody. Hopefully, it won't infect everybody, but nonetheless, it has already caused widespread pandemic panic. And some panicking that people have done is not warranted, but some of the panicking that people have done is definitely warranted. I'm going to say this again, and I say it every time I go on live. The government is not telling us everything. And I think the government is hiding information on purpose. I truly believe that listen, I just think it's going to get a lot worse. I do. I hate to even say this, but I think, because the Lord, He talks to His children regardless of, how active we are. He'll still talk to you if He can. The Lord is a very talkative person, and He has been talking to me. And, I went and I looked at, my food. I was like, okay, Lord, I've been listening. I've been getting food and canned goods. And I opened up my little, and I was like, okay, I'm good. And the Lord, you know what the Lord said to me? He said, not even close. And my whole thing was, I need to be able to stay in the house for 30 days and eat, drink water, and, be able to cook, in case that shuts down. I need to have, I'm about to hit the Army Navy store, actually. Um, and the Lord told me I wasn't even close. I've been gathering cans for a minute. But when He said that today, I was like, I'm not even close. He said, you need to have 6 months worth of food and supplies. This is what the Lord said. You need to have 6 months worth of food and supplies. So for those of you, hey, how you doing? For those of you who, if you're listening to me, if you're listening to me, as in doing what I'm doing, someone get confirmed with. What city do you live in? What city do you live in? Oh, you live in London. Okay. I've been to London before. Lots of rain. Yes, be careful. I've been to London before. London's packed too. Down there in Soho, I liked it in London. It's a different vibe. But you know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. You have a lot of people coming in and out of London. Always have been this way. And and if we look further into, London is being overran by foreigners because, let's just face it, the English, they invaded every country they could. And, for war and conquest. And now, 100 years, 200 years later, they're being invaded. You know what I'm saying? And so they were having this problem when I went over there. This was a while ago. Yeah, I'm just glad I don't have to go in the London Underground now. Yeah, I've been on the Underground. I've got the train. I feel you 100%. And that's good that everybody can work from home now. So everybody is remote. Look, That remote thing, for one, it just feels so good to be able to be remote. I know some people who actually work remote. Uh, but here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. For one, it's helping you quarantine yourself. Not that you're sick, but if you are sick, you find out you're sick. You're not spreading it. So that's a great thing. Uh, for two, listen. I'm not young. I usually work remote like 1 day a week. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, I'm not young. I'm not in the work force like that. So we're pretty well set up to do it. Yeah, yeah, you're set up to do it. What I was gonna say is, like, I don't have the need for contact for people, but if some of the young people, then they always have the need to be in contact and go see their friends, and I don't have that issue. So that might be one thing that's gonna hurt. People who are, the younger people who are out there in the work field, the 21 and up, people who are in the work field, because it is a social atmosphere. You go there, hey, what'd you do last night? It's a whole thing going on there, so it's understandable. So there's gonna be people who are gonna get cabin fever. They are. When you tell people to stay in, there's some people that go stir crazy. They can't do it. They're very outdoorsy. They're very active. That's going to come to a close. They're going to have to listen to what the CDC and the World Health Organization tells them. So there's going to be some issues with that. But for the people who, you're married and things along that line, hopefully you're in a good marriage, because if you're not, that's going to be, problemsome too. But if you got that whole family and you're like, yo, we're just going to stay home, and, and there's a whole nother dynamic, because some people are married and they don't have that good relationship at home. So they don't want to look at their spouse all day. They don't want to be at home with their kids. The kids driving them crazy. They don't want to do that. So there's going to be some repercussions. There's going to be some knee jerk reactions, uh, because here's what I think is going to happen. I think that London, just like America, England, just like America, I think they're going to quarantine every country. I think every country is going to police it. Matter of fact, they're already doing it. They're already policing themselves. We're cutting each other off from each country. We're sectioning each other off from each country because you don't want the spread to happen. But it's pretty much, I think it's already in each country. But then each country is going to start policing its own, and it's just going to implode. And they're going to do like the Asians are doing. They're taking people and they're getting rid of people, and this has already been happening. When a last hurricane came, and one homeless guy was standing outside in the rain, and he wouldn't go into the homeless shelter that was set up for him. And he said, they came and asked him and said, why aren't you going inside? He said, because they're killing people. They're taking the people and they're killing them. And then they showed all these areas that were set up for people because of the hurricane, and people singing and all this other stuff. But when you went inside, you saw very little people there. So, like I said, I think this is going to get worse. I think the coronavirus is going to be an excuse. So we're pretty. I think the coronavirus is going to be an excuse for the government to have martial law. I think we're restricted travel. Yeah, you are. But once you already got it in your country, what is the point? People are already spreading it anyway. This is true, but you can have. Okay, so over here, they don't want people gathering in groups of over 1,000. So they don't want that. So this is why every major event, the Arnold Classic here, I don't know if they had it or not. I don't think they did. But the Arnold Classic, I think that was last weekend. But if they didn't have it, then they shouldn't. They shut down all of basketball, all of basketball. is shut down. They were just going to have the NBA play, and there wasn't going to be much of a crowd. The whole NBA season is shut down. NFL, soccer, MLB, any sport where there's over 1,000 people gathering, it's a dub. And if people are smart, they will not go to church. But the preachers, the preachers should still have some type of televised church. They should YouTube their sermons, is what they should do. And everybody should, be able to pray and worship like that. So there still should be church, but do not go to church. Okay, so I hate to even say that, because church is a place you go to, because you're of your faith, and you're like, the Lord's there, you feel the presence of the Holy Ghost. But let me say this: if you're going to go to church, go to church looking like you're going to Mars. Okay, go to church, absolutely. But go to church looking like you're going to Mars. Have a whole headset, the whole nine, walk into church like Vader, like, praise the Lord. If you're going to church, protect yourself. I'll say that. The whole family, if you got to go in the trash bag, then go in the doggone trash bag. But don't bring the COVID-19 home. Don't do it. And then say, well, the Lord's going to just, no, he's not. It just doesn't work like that. The Lord wants you to be smart, So you have that issue. But like I said, as far as working is concerned, there are a lot of people who already work remotely. Most jobs are set up remotely, except like restaurants. And now you have like AOC speaking against people not going to Chinese restaurants, and she's saying it's racist. It's just like, no, people aren't going out. It's the same thing that happened in China with Wuhan. 1 point something million people, even a Chinese holiday was canceled. You know what I'm saying? You got 1 point something million people decided to shut the city down. Look, America is about to be shut down. Even the supply lines are already being affected. Listen, get yourself some food, get yourself some water. And I was wrong. I'm telling you, I was wrong. I thought 30 days was going to do it. Do not follow that. And I wasn't given instruction, but do not follow my lead on that. It's going to be longer than 30 days. It's going to be longer. Listen, they said that they're not even going to have a cure for like a good while. And they figured out a cure in like 3 hours, but they're not going to be able to administer it, to everyone, because of how many people are actually here. And they also, now they just mandated where you can, you're not going to be charged if you're going to, if you need to get tested for the virus, because they were going to charge people that copay and all that. A lot of people can't afford that. It cost over, be about $1,500, just to get tested. The government said, nope, we're not doing that. If you think that you're sick, go get yourself tested. So the government has put a nix on all that. So anybody who is charging you, of course, now they can fall up under, that's a federal crime. It's just like denying somebody service, but it's even worse now. So if you deny somebody, and listen, somebody will get denied. If you deny somebody testing, then that's you're looking at getting shut down and possibly thrown in jail. And I'm telling you right now, racism is real. So somebody is going to get racially profiled, and somebody's not going to be able to get the test for COVID-19, and they're going to be visibly sick. It's going to be very clear that this person is sick, and they possibly most likely have it. And there's going to be somebody saying, look, my cousin is sick, or my relative is sick, and these people will not let us in to get tested, but they're letting these group of people in. And it's going to be pure racism. It's going to be pure anarchy. And it's only going to take a couple of those videos before just a crowd of people are going to come see whoever's doing it. But some dumb person, Some doctor's office is going to try that, and or a hospital. And listen, the police are going to be up against a whole monster. It's not going to be, disperse. No, they're going to be up against nature itself. They are. They really, really are. It's not going to be just a bunch of angry people. They're going to be up against nature itself. I'm telling you, this thing is going to get bad. It's going to get really bad. And listen, 6 months worth of food. Go out and get it. Go out and get it. I don't care if you just got your check, you just paid your rent, and you got, $60 that you're holding on to. Don't do it. Don't do it. Go out and get yourself 6 months of food and start getting it now while the supply lines are open. Go spend $40 of that 60 and keep 20 on you just in case you need to travel, grab some gas or whatever. But go and get yourself, some potatoes. Get some potatoes in a can. Get stuff that's going to keep you up and running real good. Don't just get a bunch of vegetables or sweets. Get yourself, some rice. You know what I'm saying? Get yourself some beans. Beans and rice to help you get through the day real quick. Cans of soup. Get all that, because if you don't, listen, you don't want to be codependent on what the government is telling you. You do not. Do not trust the government wholeheartedly and thinking that they are telling you the 100% truth, because the Surgeon General actually got on in an interview, and they asked him how many people need tested, and he said, I would refer to the CDC for that. And then the interviewer said, well, the CDC's number has changed. So the numbers that are posted for the CDC, the numbers that are posted for the CDC are wrong. Those numbers are wrong. Those numbers, and they're not skewed. They're not skewed for you to be lied to. Those numbers that are posted are wrong because we're having new cases by the second. And you don't know that somebody is sick until they start having symptoms, and or you suspect that they're sick because of somebody else that was close to them that has symptoms. They quarantined 2 basketball teams. All right, and one player had it, and he was going around touching everybody and touching everybody and everything. Even after he interviewed, and he knew he had it, he was touching, the microphone and the recording equipment that these reporters had to touch. And he tried to. He was. They were saying it was jokingly, but it wasn't. And then it turns around. Now we found out his teammate for the Utah Jazz. His teammate has it, and his teammate was like, "Look, this guy was going around touching everyone. This guy probably knew he had it, and he was going around touching everyone. He touched one guy was doing an interview, and he just came up and grabbed his head and put his hands through his hair. Who does that to another guy? Who does it? Like, this dude purposely is spreading COVID-19. Like, somebody needs to get a hold of those people and just put them away for like a year until they're cured, and then they know that they're cured, even of a couple years. Just put them in a very nice quarantine spot. Don't do like you're doing these people who are coming from Guatemala. Don't do that. Have them sickly and sleeping, on the floor. Nah, put these people in a decent spot. They're not prisoners. They're sick until you can administer the cure, because they already found the cure. Until they can administer the cure. But yes, 6 months, people. Have yourself 6 months worth of food and water and medicine if you can. And as far as over-the-counter medicine, I'm telling you now, get yourself some painkillers. Get yourself some painkillers. Get yourself stuff like Tinactin, where you can just spray on your skin, or if you got a little fungus or whatever, for your feet or whatever, get yourself some of that. Grab yourself some soap, some of that. And I'm going to say it again. Find out where the nearest fresh water is, whether it's a river, a lake, or whatever. And if you can, like I'm going to start learning this today, how to purify water. Some of you have, water purifiers that on your spigot. That's cool. But if the water shuts down, now what? Have yourself a way to travel outside of your car. Get yourself a little bike or whatever. 10 speed or whatever. Get yourself a little trail bike. You know what I'm saying? Something that you can just easily get on and hit a couple miles just in case you have to do it. I'm just telling you now, because if the roads close, and I think the roads are going to close, listen, they're going to shut down travel. They're already shutting down travel from one country to another. They're already telling people don't go out. Don't go from one place to another. They're going to shut down traffic. And there's some places that are just so congested, with traffic, it's ridiculous. It's New York, LA, these cities, Houston, these cities are huge. They are going to stop people from traveling. They really are. They're going to have a mandated quarantine, and you're going to see police, regular police, federal police, and they're going to be asking you where you're going. And if you're not going to certain designated areas, if you're not going to a hospital, if you're not going to a place that you need to go, so if you're not headed to the store, to the grocery store, or if places that you need to go, just like if you was wearing an ankle bracelet, like if you committed a crime, you can only go to certain places. It's going to be like that. You can't just be going, I'm just going down to the park. No, 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 no. Look, expect that. If it doesn't happen, glory to God. But expect it to happen. Expect martial law to happen. I'm just telling you right now, expect it to happen. Expect your car to get stopped. That's just it. And if you don't have that vehicle, now what? How you going to get groceries? So on and so forth. So it doesn't hurt to have a little, just a little something that doesn't need gas. Because if if those gas pumps stop, I'm just telling you, now what? You're footing it? Some of us don't live that close to a store. I actually do. I live close to one, two, three. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them where I live. But for you people who are rural, all right, I know some people who live way out, way out, and they're very, very rural. Now, some of those people actually farm, but some of those other people, they don't. They're completely relying on the supply lines. So things are going to have to change. And listen, if some of you have a little plot of land and there's not a lot of traffic where you're at, it would not hurt to start planting a plant potatoes. It would not hurt you to throw some rice down. If you don't know how to do it, look it up on YouTube. You are your first responder. You are a DIYer now. Look it up on YouTube. Figure out how to plant a potato. How long will it grow? Listen, get yourself, get yourself just a small, couple feet of whatever and start planting and see what happens. If it dies, boom. Try it again. Learn from it. Try it again. And if America shuts down, it might take a couple months for it to get up until it's edible, but you're learning. Next thing you know, you got yourself a nice little garden and you got some potatoes back there. You got some lettuce or whatever. You got food. You know what I'm saying? You may not go out and start raising chickens, but you could live off of, a vegan diet. You can live off of that. I'm just saying, we got to become smarter and we got to become self-reliant. And now is the time. When I saw them shut down sports and the stock market, I'm not playing anymore. It's not a game. It's not a game. It's not a, oh, that'll happen to them. It won't happen to me. It is happening to you right now. You just don't know it. It's happening to you. My man in London, he's like, yo, we can't even go to work. We got to work from home. It is happening to you. If listen, you be smart. Please do not listen to all of what the government says and ignore it, and and then take in all of what the government says and take it for sound truth. No, 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 no. Don't listen. They said they had 2,600 cases. Last week. I'm telling you, it's not 2,600 cases. That's worldwide. It is not. You had 6 deaths just in Washington alone. Do not listen to that and think that it's a dub. It's not. It's not. Even when they get a cure, do not fall back on your quarantining yourself and your self preparations. Do not do that. Also, when you're at home, do not sit around and do nothing. Don't do that. Don't sit around and wait for someone to knock on your door and tell you it's okay to come outside. Don't wait for somebody to say, hey, you should be, stretching out your back, your muscles. You should be, you should, don't wait. Get up every day, stay fluid, stay smart, get your read on, look at your situation and better yourself in this situation. Every day, your mind should be prepared for the what ifs. Every day you should be. Now, some people are a little extreme. I ain't telling you to go out, get yourself, into trouble because jail is a real thing. And you do not want to end up in prison at this time. That's not the move. You do not want to go to prison right now because if one person in there gets it in prison, and that's another thing, there are 2 million people in prison. Okay, we're not even going to count how many people are in and out of prison and or jails. There are 2 million people right now in prison. Okay, jail is a real thing because for one, it's a money marketing machine. You know what I'm saying? This is how the police, you know, do their whatever, and are able to be heavily weaponized in new cars and all this because they're getting money out of us. All these tickets for jaywalking and all that. That's what they're doing. They're pretty much extorting the people because so they can pay their high salaries. I mean, you had one that made this guy made $500,000 in 1 year as a police officer. It's just he was just bilking the people out of their money because he wasn't even working a lot of those hours. So that's a real thing too. That's a real concern. But you do not want to go. You don't want to go into the jail system. You don't want to go into prison. That's for sure. Jail. You might be there for 2 days to I don't know 6 months. Prison, 6 months to life. You don't want no part of that. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, those places are not sanitary. Those places are not looking out for your best interest. That's not where you want to be. So if you're one of those hard-headed people who I'm just do what I want, I'm gonna go out and the police are still a real thing. And if you end up behind bars, you are seriously at the mercy of people who don't like you. And that's not where you want to be. So keep your head on right, stay at home, follow the law to the letter. Follow the law to the letter. You know what I'm saying? Of course, there are, police officers out there who, you know, they ain't right. You know what I'm saying? So you could end up in a situation, but do the best you can to be innocent before God and country. That's what I'm saying. Follow that law to the letter. I'm just telling you right now. Don't end up in the bang with a bunch of hard-headed people because, listen, we saw what happened in New York. During the winter, they didn't even have blankets. It was freezing in there, and they had, they didn't even have blankets to cover up. And those COs knew what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? They was letting those people in there freezing. So you had, Thandi and a bunch of other people in, I think from Brooklyn or whatever. They came out and did this whole thing in front just to get these people to get right, and they were banging on the windows because they didn't have blankets and they were in the freezing. This is not where you want to be. So don't be hard headed. If you can, if you got a couple extra dollars, either get yourself a second refrigerator or get yourself an ice box. A freezer, a little deep freezer action going on if you can. If you can. So I'm not telling you to go out and spend, $300-400. Don't do that. There's plenty of people who are selling them on Facebook marketing, on OfferUp and stuff like that. So go to those places, get yourself a deep freezer or another refrigerator, place to store your extra food that you're gonna have coming in. Boom, boom, boom. Be able to do that. Um, let's see what else. Weapons. I don't think we're at the place where we need weapons now. And it's very interesting because we don't know Joe Biden and them are, talking about doing. I don't think that they're going to win the election. I think Trump is going to stay in. So, I'm not telling you to go out and get an AR-15. I think that's a bad move. Don't do that. You're just inviting the feds to your door. Shotgun, handgun, legal. Go through the system. Second Amendment, yeah. I don't think there's nothing wrong with having a handgun or shotgun or whatever. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that if you're a mentally competent person and you're doing it just for the safety of your house. I don't think we're at that level yet where people are breaking into homes to steal your food, but I don't think that it's something that is not possible. Not coming in and stealing your jewelry, not coming in and taking your money, coming to take your food, coming to take your supplies. That's not far-fetched to me. It just isn't. I can see people actually doing that because if you got something that somebody needs, they're going to come for it. So there's that. If you got a security system, good on you. Those little cameras, you got little cameras now that you can, watch. I mean, I got one in my car. I don't hardly use it, but you got some little camera action now that you can watch your home with and stuff like that. So if you got a couple coins hanging around the house, get yourself a little security system. Uh, yeah, 6 months, people, not 30 days. 6 months. Have yourself 6 months worth of food in your house, food and supplies, meaning you can survive 6 months without the supply lines. I can't do that right now. I might be up to maybe two. I might be at 2 months, maybe. And that depends on how much, of course, you eat, how much movement you're doing. Uh, so be careful with that because the more energy you expand or expound, the more you're going to want to consume. That's just how your body works. Everybody knows that. So for those of you who are going to the gym and running all those miles, slow all that down. Especially, I used to be a runner. I know it doesn't look like it, but I used to be a miler. I used to run a mile in 4:26. I'm telling you right now, for those of you who are on that, slow down. I'm not saying get fat. I'm saying stop running so many miles. Just cut it out because your body is constantly needing to burn that energy. Cut that out because you might be eating through your own supply. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that. What else? What else? I think that's it right now. Unless you guys got some questions for me. I don't know if you guys got any questions for me. But yeah, it's gonna get worse before it gets better because we don't have a cure. We just don't. We don't have a cure, or they're saying we have a cure, but they can't administer it to us, and it takes months before they can. I'm not trying to hear that. So that's the whole people with money are going to think that they're more special than people without, You got that going on. And of course, like I said, you got the whole racial thing popping off. But let's get this in perspective. In America, you have what, 240 million white people? Okay. You have 40 million black people. You have 2 million Indians. And I don't know how many Africans and so on and so forth. I used to know all these numbers. But when you just start thinking of, how things go here in America and how America still racially, it was born in racism, and unfortunately it's still a thing here. So when you start looking at that, you're going, what's the chances of me getting some help, getting some real help when it gets worse, when it gets really bad, when everybody is required to wear a mask, when when the supplies for the cure starts getting low. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not mass produced yet. So what happened? Look, okay, I'll put it to you like this. Let's just say that the coronavirus, when it hits a city, it's in LA right now. We know this. It's in Utah. We know this. It's in New York. We already know this. Let's just say that when it hits one of those cities, it's spreading one person every, we'll just say every day. One person comes up with it. Now we know that more than one person is getting it a day right now. We already know this. But we're getting one person a day. Well, let's do 10 people a day. 10 people a day are getting it, but you're only having maybe one or two reporting it. Okay, so let's go back to one person that's reporting it a day. You still 365 to end a year, you still 365 people. Uh, so when you start looking at the propensity that one person is usually during a day, during a regular day before all this was pandemic, usually that one person is possibly in contact with 100 people a day. Usually, this is an average working person going out to work, catching the train, catching the bus, have a family at home. Their family, goes and does their thing. One person can infect 100 people a day. Just imagine that. And I would say that those numbers are are pretty real. Are pretty real because we don't know the latent stage. We don't know the beginning, latent stage, the tertiary stage. Well, we do know the tertiary stage. We do know once you get it, the symptoms that you have. But here's what we don't know. When you get it, how long does it take you to get those symptoms? I'm not a doctor. I don't know that. My degree isn't, doesn't really follow the inside of the body. My degree is more on the outside in how it goes from one person to another. I have a degree in health service administration. My concentration was in pretty much epidemiology. That's pretty much what I want to be. Uh, I wanted to go and get a master's degree for public health and then be an epidemiologist. So that's where I'm at. And that's who I am. I've also worked for the House of Representatives, so I have a government background. I've worked for the state too, and so I have a little bit of knowledge on government and how government works. Definitely in the medical field, as far as I never worked in the medical field, but I have knowledge just by studying in of the medical field, and and like I said, I'm human, so I can speak on just being a human, and so on and so forth. But a lot of information I'm regurgitating to you, it's from what I've already heard, so that's not a big deal. But it's also my perspective. I'm also ex-military, so I'm giving you perspective on a lot of experience that I've had, military, my degree, and working in the government. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. That's basically who I am. So, like I said, if one person affects 100 people, which I think is pretty possible, and eventually within a month, those 100 people all have it, but we don't know who those 100 people affected, then you're looking at something that's just gonna just it's going to be out of control real quick. I'm not even sure if that's the right number. I haven't studied that, but this is high. This is a hypothetical, just it's hypothetical reasoning. So when you have that type of fear, especially what we saw in Wuhan, China, it seemed like that's pretty much what was happening. It seemed like one person was affecting 100 people because it was boom. And I mean, we don't even know the true numbers. Look, when we first start getting reports on it, it jumped from a couple of 100 people to like 90,000 in a week. A week. So it's fair to say that one person can affect 100 people. And then you got the densely populated, Wuhan, which is 1.3, 1.4 million people there. You have how many people living in New York? 8, 9, 10 million people. So we got to understand the real fear of just one person having it and not knowing that they have it. One person walking around every day completely unaware that they have it, and all the people they come in contact with, and they're not quarantined because they don't know that they have it. And now, they start showing symptoms, a week later, 2 weeks later, and then they go to the hospital and like, you have COVID-19. But when did you get it? Then they said, listen, they're interviewing people and asking when they got it. One guy said, I was never in, Europe, China. He's like, I didn't go to none of those places. We have several people who are just coming up with COVID-19. That's simply because it traveled across the water and it went through a bunch of people who was in contact with somebody who came off of one of those planes or boats or shipping lanes or whatever, whatever have you, and it transferred to somebody who has nothing to do with any of that. The person in the grocery store, the cashier, whatever. You hand her $1, she takes it, put it in her drawer, and we don't know if it could live on, inanimate objects. But then, somebody else comes through the same line and they want change. That dollar bill is handed to some woman, got nothing to do with nothing. She goes home and her husband is like, hey, I need a couple dollars to do whatever. And she hands him the dollar. And next thing you know, that household is sick. We have a guy now who's like, I've never been to any of those, countries. And he is sick, like he's visibly sick. So it's a real thing, people. Self quarantine yourself. I know you got homies. I know you got loved ones. Uh, if you got some, Lysol, alcohol, stuff like that helps keep the spot clean, clean it. If there's more than one person in your house, the bathroom, make sure the bathroom, the tub, anywhere where you're constantly touching the kitchen, like hit that. Like don't go in there and spot it. Nah. Go in there, hands and knees. Get in that bathroom and hit it. Keep getting like I have 409 in my bathroom. So whenever I see something I don't like, the bathtub needs a little, once a week, whatever, I hit it with 409. You know what I'm saying? I also have bleach. I don't usually use that, but I definitely have, some little Lysol wipes, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, my thing is 409. So, but I'm going to have to go and get some, Lysol. But I think 409 some of it has bleach in it. So I use that. It's pretty strong, does the trick. I use Comet too. So if you have people who are in your house and you're all using the same bathroom, you're all using the same sink, you got children, especially little, itty bitty children, get with that. Get with that. You know what I'm saying? Keep that bathroom clean because one of you could go in there and infect everyone. Self quarantine yourself. Have yourself 6 months worth of supply, regardless of what the government says. Regardless of what they say. Buy in bulk. If you can get a whole thing of pork and beans, get 12 cans. That's 12 cans. That's 2 weeks worth of pork and beans. We be living on some pork and beans. Tuna. I know tuna costs a lot, but tuna's high in energy. I went and got some, chunky Starkiss. Get on that. Get on that. If you know what I'm saying? You can get, it's a little expensive, so $2 or $3 a can for the thick cans. Yeah, get on all that right there. You know what I'm saying? Because that'll last you a couple days right there. Just raw by itself. Get yourself some Starkiss. If it comes down to you rationing stuff out, you crack open one of those, and you'll still be able to, hold your own or, work around the house without fainting. Because you can, if you're too hungry, you're not going anywhere. So get yourself some Starkiss, man. That's some of that tuna. Boom. I went and got some canned yams. I got some of those today. Some also get some brown potatoes in a can. You can get some of those. That's what's up. I also got a lot like soups. Now the good thing about the soups is it's already made. Even if it's cold, you can still eat it. The bad thing about most of that food is it's processed food. I'm not a big processed food eater. You know what I'm saying? I like to get in there and cook my stuff up when I'm not tired. So, but nonetheless, it is what it is. If you got a bunch of canned goods in the house, yeah, and don't put them in a place where people are constantly moving them because you don't want those cans to get knocked around and start swelling up, and your food's infected. That can swells up. The food in there is what's botulism. That food in there is no good. And I do have a culinary background. When I was in the military, I was a cook. Before I was in the military, I was a cook. When I got out of the military, I was a cook. So, uh, so yeah, have that going on. And I think that's it. Like I said, get yourself some medicines, have yourself some painkillers, some over the counter, you know, ibuprofen, something with or something with naproxen in it that'll take swelling down. Because a twisted ankle will mess you up. You're not going nowhere. Get yourself some good walking boots. Some good walking boots. Now I got some Timberlands. These are lightweight. These are lightweight boots. They're very light. I got some of them other Timberlands too. You know how it is. Yeah, it is. Some of these working boys, I got those too. Tim's all day. But I'm not walking nowhere in these. These are extremely heavy. These right here, lightweight. Water resistant. I can get it in the woods with these. Boom. Trekking. Boom. 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 Right here. You know what I'm saying? Hold it down. Also have some Wolverines. Steel toe. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I'm not trying to walk nowhere in these. They're actually comfortable because I got some Dr. Scholl's or whatever in these. But these joints right here, yeah. In case you got to get out there and build something. In case you got to build something. You got to take a hammer and a nail to something real quick. You know what I'm saying? You might have to build your little shed or something. You might have to go cut down some trees. And I love the trees. I don't like cutting down trees. But you might have to, ladies and gents, we might be thrown back a couple 100 years off of this. And that's it. It's your boy Tone 202. See what you're saying? Our government isn't large gatherings. Well, your government isn't banning large gatherings. They said they are the same as small gatherings because one person. Well, that's not true. They don't infect the whole crowd, just the people close. Okay, I understand that because it's not airborne yet. So going for drinks with a couple of friends is similar to going to a stadium. Don't go to drinks with friends. I think of canceling my driving lesson. Not sure I want to sit that close to someone that is in the car with other students. If you're gonna do that, make sure you plastic up, masked. And if you got facial hair like I do, and you pop on one of these masks, it doesn't work right. Okay, this is from the hospital. You pop on one of these masks, you still get through because you have on facial hair. So, you gotta wear these the right way. You see, most doctors are shaving here. They're shaving here. They don't have beards and stuff like that. Most doctors, most operating doctors. So that's the thing. I'm on a military base, so as far as security, I should be okay. The only thing is that they don't allow us to have guns in the dorm, but knives. I don't know if you're still here. The person for the military base, no, I think they're gone. Things like pasta. I was gonna speak on that. The shop already started putting restrictions on how much you can buy. Yep. Yep. I think they already left. It's a little late to get 6 months of food. Dang. I want to sit there. I think I've already left it a bit like, oh, the shops are, yeah. That's because people started arguing over toilet paper and fighting over toilet paper. I saw a video of a person in England. This woman went and bought the whole thing of toilet paper and wouldn't let this black woman buy one thing of toilet paper. She wouldn't let her buy one. So they had to step in and, you know, for things like paste or pasta. Wow. The virus won't respect your security. No, the virus will not respect your security. But I don't think they were speaking on it as in that form. I live next to a military base. I'm referring to people. Yeah, that's what they're referring to. People breaking in for resources, not the virus. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, someone has it 3 miles from the street from me in the hospital. Ooh, listen, I just went to the VA hospital. Let me say this. I'm not in a hurry to go back. I went to the VA hospital. I only saw one person wearing masks. They don't seem to have a worry. I'm not going back there. I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there. Anyways, I got to go, you guys. It's good talking to you. Stay alert, stay alive. God loves you, and so do I.